I think the biggest lie is something that all of us in Africa understand, which is that Africa is poor, right? Africa is not poor. If Africa was poor, we would never have been colonized. Nobody would ever, set foot here to extract anything.
Mm-hmm.
Africa is extremely rich, has always been extremely rich, and extremely rich today in potential, not just in resources. And that's precisely why we've been colonized. That's what.
Guys, welcome back to my channel, Iyano Show KE. Hope you're good, hope you're fine. So guys, I just want to appreciate you for the support you're showing my channel. Guys, these lies, the biggest lie that we have been told about Africa, and people have come out clear to reveal these lies that have been told about Africa. And the biggest lie that people are saying is that they were lied that Africa is the poorest country. When you step in Africa, we see huts, we see that the mud houses, and we see that Africa is not a developed. Africa is just a native country. So people have come out clearly to reveal these biggest lies that they were told about Africa. So guys, here are some of the biggest lies that were told about Africa. So don't go anywhere, just subscribe, like, comment, and share.
Well, you about to raise my blood pressure, because if it's one thing I'm gonna do, that's advocate for Mama Africa. Now let's talk about some of these preconceived notions. They want you to believe Africa is poor, dangerous, and broken, and that narrative is outdated and it's intentional. Africa is one of the most resource-rich continents on the planet, holding vast reserves of gold, diamonds, cobalt, rare earth metals, and the raw materials that power the global tech economy. Not to mention, it's also the youngest continent in the world. And 60% of its population is under 25, meaning it's literally the future of innovation, creativity, and labor is already taking shape across the 54 countries. Or is it 55 countries now? But anyway, it's also home to the oldest human fossil. Africa is the blueprint. It's the cradle of modern humanity. And a lot of people speak about Africa and treat it like it's one country, but the continent is vast, it's diverse. Over 2,000 different languages are spoken, hundreds of different cultures, and some of the fastest growing economies on earth. So when outsiders use these preconceived notions to convince you a place is hopeless, it's often because they want to exploit it while you look the other way. And when people tell us, go back to Africa, baby, I pack my bags gladly. But if you only know the Africa they show you, baby, you won't know Africa.
Lie that has been told about Africa. And now, yeah, go on.
I think the biggest lie is something that all of us in Africa understand, which is that Africa is poor, right? Africa is not poor. If Africa was poor, we would never have been colonized. Nobody would ever, set foot here to extract anything.
Mm-hmm.
Africa is extremely rich, has always been extremely rich, and extremely rich today in potential, not just in resources. And that's precisely why we've been colonized. That's precisely why colonial forces have never left economically. And that's precisely why the geopolitical hierarchy perceives a huge threat from unleashing that potential.
Mm-hmm.
So we're intentionally being kept impoverished and divided and weakened precisely because we're rich and because the richness of the African continent
Yes.
is spoken for by colonial forces who want to continue to extract. That's the biggest lie.
Mm-hmm.
But for those of us in Africa, we know this. The question is, how do we undo these traps and undo the restrictions and fully unleash our potential?
And they teach us that Africans don't like us when we come here. That's not true at all.
Not true at all. What about some of the misconceptions when you're growing up that you were kind of taught about Africa that you found out was not true when you came here?
You'll get malaria. Everybody has HIV and they're poor and stupid. That's what they teach us.
It's very.
That's what they teach us.
Yeah,
That's just sad.
Yeah, it's very.
That's what they teach us.
Yeah,
That's just sad.
Yeah, it's very true.
When they show us Kenya, they show us the safari. They don't show us Nairobi.
Why do you think that is?
To keep the Africans suppressed so we can't take money over there and do what's going on right now.
What's going on right now in your opinion?
Like Chinese, Indians coming to, well, not so much Americans, but
Yeah.
Chinese and Indians coming to build up the country. They want Americans to not do that.
Yeah.
In particular, against Black Americans.
For sure is, yeah.
Why do you think that they don't want us to have a relationship with people in Africa?
The same reason they don't want us to have one back home, so that we can't rise up against them.
Wow.
So that we can't rise up against them.
Did you have any issues with Africans when you coming up in Texas? Like,
no,
you didn't.
No.
Okay. And did you feel like somebody told you like, don't go?
Yeah.
Don't come here. What about your mom? Because my mom used to tell me all the time, like, she used to beg and plead for.
First trip here, I got an amazing history lesson, and just understanding not just the heritage, but the backdrop of South Africa, and a true understanding of the people, and a better understanding of the story. You know, coming from the States, there's a lot of propaganda attached to the idea of what South Africa is. So the unknown is real, you know. There was a moment where I was talking about the world of shots that I got to get before I come, because I don't know what's going to happen, but it was all based off of news and story. And once I got here, it was more of a thing where I was like, what the fuck? Like, it's ridiculous. It's not only beautiful, but the people are dope. They don't show the beautiful picture of Johannesburg on the media. They don't show a beautiful picture of Cape Town on the media. Durban, I've never seen anything beautiful about Durban. When people show things in the media, they're always shown in a negative light. When something about Africa is talked about, it's normally bad. It's normally violent. It's normally something about the country or a disease broke, and it's never good. So your perception is what people have forced you to believe. So until you get the heart to go, I'm going, I want to see for myself, you don't know. So all I know is what the news says. So in my mind, I'm like, hey man, I'm not trying to go over there and get kidnapped. I'm saying from what I've seen. And then I go and I see an amazing city. We're blown away. Why not show us the amazing stuff that's over here? So when we get here, we see for ourselves, and then our senses are enhanced to where not only do we want to come back, but we want to come back and want to be involved with things you have going on. But until we get the heart as artists and we spread that rumor ourselves, we don't know. And to be honest, we're a community. That's how I ended up coming over. I know Nicki. I know Beyonce. I know Jay-Z and all. I talked to them. Hey, guys, is there anything to worry about? Guys, should I get these shots? They told me to get the shots. Do I need the shots? It was the scariest thing in the world. I walked into a doctor's office, and the doctor, he was convincing me that he needed to give me the disease first. I'm going to give you this shot, put the disease in you, so when you get there, you'll be okay. I said, but I don't have it yet. He said, that's why I'm going to give it to you. So when you get it, you'll be okay. And I was like, but I don't have it yet. Why are you giving it to me? And this was a big thing for me. I'm not lying. Like, I literally called several people. When I called people, I had people track down people that were from Cape Town, from Johannesburg. And I talked to them. Hey, man, am I going to get bit by a mosquito and not be able to come back? Kevin, what are you talking about? You sound ignorant. No, you don't need nothing like that. It's the same. You're going to come over and you're going to be shocked. And I was like, I know, but they said I need shots. Do I need these shots? No, but I'm repeating what I've heard. I'm repeating what the media has forced me to believe. So now that I'm here, I'm like, this is ridiculous. I don't need shit. I'm fine. It's a city. Like I feel like I'm in New York. I felt like I was in Malibu the other day. Like it's the same exact thing, and it's frustrating because it makes you guys, as the media, it makes me go to y'all and question y'all. You had the chance to put out the positive side of where you are and where you live. It's you that pushes out everything else. So when you really ask, what is your perception? My perception is what you made it. That's really the reality. And that's what the media never understands. The media looks and goes, why do you do this? I do this because you did it. It started with you. We don't get stuff from us just getting it. We grab it from you. And then the state's going to amplify it. But where did it start? It started here. You know what I mean? That's the power of the media. You never know what you're walking into. And I think the beauty of traveling is that you realize that there's similarities in every place that you go. You know, regardless of where you are. You have good parts, you have bad parts. And, you know, with coming to South Africa, I didn't know what to expect. But just like anything else, there's good and there's bad. And I've seen both sides of it, and I can relate to both sides. And all it did is just make me say, you know what, this needs to be something that's now on my list to do yearly. You know, I need to frequent these parts. And South Africa is on that list of international places with amazing people. So you'll see me here a lot now. They said Dave went to South Africa. I said, oh my God, they got him. What happened? Oh God, I got to get him back. But now I get it. You know, I get why he was out here. It's an amazing place to be, and he was left alone and chilled out from it. It's once again the power of media. The same way that my perception of what South Africa would be is blurred because of media. It just shows how media can twist and alter things.
I just realized you're American, right?
Yeah, most of
Yeah, let us know. What do you think of Africa? Have you been to Africa before?
Yes, I have been to Africa. Nigeria, Ghana, South Africa, Ethiopia, Egypt, Kenya, TZ. Oh wow. I think that's it.
That's so many countries.
And Morocco.
So what do you think of Africa?
I say this all the time, especially when I first came there. They think everybody is poor. They think everybody living in huts. They think everything is dirt roads. But it's not their fault, it's what we were taught. Being young, we were taught that.
Who taught you?
Technically what they showed us on TV was that. So once Africa comes on TV, they show us that. So it was stuck in our head because that's what we saw. And then when a person like me, being from US, traveled to Africa and showed most of my followers, subscribers, how Africa is, now a lot of people are learning, and because of social media, things are getting different. People are starting to go to Africa. But I love Africa. I love the vibe. I love Kenya. I love also I like South Africa. That's one of my top favorites. My top 3 is Ghana, South Africa, Kenya.
Oh, nice. What is the biggest lie you were told about Africa as an American?
The biggest lie I was told about Africa. The biggest lie I was told about Africa is, excuse me when I say this, everyone is poor and everyone is sick.
Wow.
Like they tell us that a lot of people in Africa are sick. That's not true. So,
what sickness?
HIV.
What?
God have mercy upon us.
I'm going to assume that most Africans already know about this, but I'm quite sure that most people outside have no idea. And it blew my mind when I found out. When you look at most world maps, the continents that look the largest are North America and Europe, right? It's not at all accurate. It's actually a big lie. When you look at the landmass of each continent, all of the continents in the world can actually fit inside of Africa with room to spare. And I know it might not seem like it's that big of a deal. Like, what's the big deal? They're not correctly depicted on the world map, but it's done purposely, and it's done to downplay Africa. There's a subconscious thing that happens when you see Africa appearing small on the map and the other continents appearing much, much larger. Those are the powerful continents. That's what we believe subconsciously. And then the same is also true for seeing Africa be much, much smaller than it really is. Subconsciously, we downplay and we undermine the continent. It's absolutely insane the amount of brainwashing that goes on.
We have been dehumanized in history so bad that it's something that's so hard to undo. It doesn't matter that there's information out there and people kind of know this and that. It's just mind-blowing to me that people really have accepted that all Africans this whole entire time look like this, and that we've never had cloth, and that we had to wait for white people to give us cloth. And then when you dig into history, we had to wait for Arabs to give us cotton. All of this stuff is incorrect. History was purposefully written so that the Arab historians, the Arab invasions, and that the white colonization people can justify in history why they enslaved us and treated us the way they treated us, an entire continent of people that look like me. Africa has 2 groups of societies. You have the egalitarian society and you have the farmers, right? Egalitarian society and you have the farmers. These guys, the way they live, it doesn't matter if you're talking about Hadza people, you're talking about Kwe, you're talking about Twa people, when you are talking about those people that are just really connected to the earth, right? Because Africa has mountain people, we have jungle people, we have forest people, We have ocean people, we have mountain people, we have inland people. And so even with our spirituality and when it gets deep, we honor different groups of people because we understand that our people have been lost. We understand that our ancestors are in all of those areas. So as Africans, particularly Bantu, we are very complex in the way we see things and the way we describe things and we understand things. We don't look at life and the world like the Western people do. So let me explain what I'm talking about. When colonizers came and the Arab invasions happened, right, they did a great number by always exposing these people, right, and dehumanizing these people and considering themselves better than these people. What's irritating about this history is that people refuse to accept that the different communities in Africa have every right to live the way they want to live. People who live in the forest should be able to live in the forest unbothered. Those people do not have to be westernized. That's what they prefer. That's what they want to do. So egalitarian societies like this, right? They don't live life with the farmer's thought. They live life on the daily. They communicate with nature on the daily. They only sustain themselves with what they need today and maybe a little bit tomorrow. And so they just live like that. That's just how they are. Okay? They don't have to be you. Right? Now you enter the Bantu. The Bantu are farmers. Right? One of the things that you'll hear about the Bantu migration from 4,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, is that we spread farming techniques all throughout Africa, including East Africa. Okay, we brought tools, we brought ironworks, we brought things on how to farm, technologies how to farm, how to smelt iron, how to do all these things, right? And that's still what white people wrote about the Bantu migration. However, for some reason, when they get to South Africa and they talk about South African history, then they're like, white people came to South Africa and they introduced farming to the Bantus. They introduced the hoe to farming to Bantu. They introduced how to till the land to the Bantus in South Africa. How is that possible? If 4,000 or 5,000 years ago, you also wrote that Bantu spread Africa, spreading farming techniques and spreading farming tools. So that's the type of nonsense I'm talking about when I'm talking about African history and how it's been so bullshitted. And so you have to do the extra work to separate this craziness, this one-sided view of Africa that the world has seen, okay? Let me make something really clear. I don't teach this to teach people on the outside and try to convince them on who we are. I care about this information for people who are us in the African diaspora, continentally and outside. And I encourage all Africans to learn African history for themselves. Don't learn it to go teach outside people. Learn it for yourselves. It makes a big difference. Don't worry what other people on the outside are saying, okay? So Africans didn't have any clothes, and therefore white people did all this help to and help civilize them. Then they go back and they say that the Arabs introduced cloth in East Africa in the 1st century. So we're talking about 2,000 years ago. White people don't exist in Africa up until after, right? In South Africa, it's like 300-400 years ago. So let's give them a 500-year period in Africa. So if East Africa had a cotton industry, why did you continue writing books saying that all Africans don't have clothes? But that's not the end of it. Without even mentioning the textile industry in West Africa, okay, because a lot about West Africa is written, so we won't touch on that. But we know that West Africa has always had cloth, okay? They've had a textile industry. Again, why has history, and why does history insist that Africans have no clothing and that they needed white people to teach them how to make clothes when West Africa has anciently cloth, when East Africa has anciently cloth at least 2,000 years ago? Even if you say it was brought by the Arabs, the point is 2,000 years ago, there was cloth in Africa. But go pick up any history book and it will still today in 2024 tell you that Africans didn't have clothes. Uganda, right? Shout out to my mutuals who teach me a lot. Ugandan mutuals taught me this, and I didn't even know this. So I'm really, really excited, and I really want to share it. Did you guys know that Uganda had its own cloth anciently, like way before the beginning of time, and they make that out of tree bark? This whole time, right? Look at that. And I think in France, Uganda bark cloth in fashion and design, France starts using this material because it's sustainable. And when you take it out of the tree, as you can see down here, the tree is able to regenerate in the enough amount of time, right, to not be destroyed. And look at that. As we live today, we have groups, who are looking for solutions. How do we solve this? Oh, the planet needs to be saved. Africans have always had the answers, but nobody wants to listen because everybody's happy to say Africans didn't have anything to wear. My second point in about wearing something, how Africans dress is going to be completely different to how people in Europe dress. Europeans, because it snows up there, they are going to have attires that are long sleeves, things that keep you warm. As Africans, we've never had to do that. So even when you do come across us and you see us wearing our cloth in a different way, it is not a full covering, because even spiritually, even religiously, being in the nude it was never something that's, offensive to the eyes. That's something that white people in Christianity and Islam brought into Africa. So mistaking Africans when you see them in outfits like this and you're like, ooh, right? Stop it. This is the most sustainable cloth, the most positive impact that we could all have brought to humanity, but no, we chose fast fashion. So let's kill all the stereotypes. Even if you don't know all of African history, please stand firm in the fact that African history has been miswritten. It has been only turned into one idea when there's multiple ideas. You can't walk into Africa and find forest people and say, this is the entire Africa, when this whole entire time you have different types of societies in Africa. I need people to understand that. But particularly, once you get in line with that understanding, you will never, ever be ashamed of your African history. I'm here to tell you, once you crack the code, you will know why they've lied about us.
Here are 3 big lies that are told about why Africa cannot unite. Lie number 1, Africa is too divided. Yes, Africa is too divided, but so is Europe. In Africa, you have many tribes, so is Europe. You have the Spanish, you have the Italians, you have the Germans, you have the French, you have the Norwegians, you have the Greeks. You have all kinds of tribes in Europe. And yet they came together. They fought hard wars right here on the African continent, fighting over territory. But what brought them together? Exploitation of Africa. They called a conference called the Berlin Conference. That's where they sat down to discuss and share Africa. As a matter of fact, they don't speak one language in Europe. There are so many Bazungu who don't speak Kizungu in Europe. Not all Europeans speak English because they refuse to, because they are not English. They speak their own languages. Same thing in Africa. Reason number 2, African leaders are too corrupt. Please, we cannot blame African leaders for the poverty that we have in Africa. If you think like that, then you're falling into the trap of self-blame. Let me tell you something. African leaders are picked. All these elections that take place in Africa are funded by the Europeans. Now, if you're funding an election, don't you think you're going to have the upper hand as to pick who is going to lead this country? Yeah, it's automatic. If they fund the elections, they choose who leads us. Unless we grow up and start being big boys and fund our own elections. Lie number 3. We can't keep blaming the West for our problems. Oh, please. The West is responsible for Africa's problems. The West gets rid of good African leaders and installs puppets. The West right now is trying to assassinate Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso. Why? Because he's doing good for his people. They don't like leaders who do good for their people. They eliminate them. They want leaders like Mohamed Bazoum who open up the gates for them to exploit Africans and take away from them. Those are the 3 big lies that people tell as to why Africa cannot unite.
Take a look at this. I went to Africa for the first time. People talk about how when you get off that plane and you put your foot on African soil, something happens. And I'm like, okay, cool. Woo woo, Bro, when I got off that plane, I set my foot, on my right foot or my left foot, on the ground in Africa, in Johannesburg, at that airport. And the overwhelming feeling, accompanied with goosebumps that hit me, was home. Something came over me when my natural physical body was reunited to the soil of the DNA from which I came. That space, something came over me. That was nothing I'd ever felt before. And I think what I'm saying today is that we have to align ourselves with the original design for us.
The thing I love the most about being out here, just in general, I've been in East Africa, is you see all the growth, you see all the progression. Everywhere I go, there's like building, there's roads, there's houses and apartments and offices, and it's just like new growth. It's like ready for the future. I love it. It's really encouraging and inspiring.
What voting rights?
Yeah.
That we have less voting rights here. What about in Kenya, where pregnant women can't leave the house, so they absolutely have no constructive right to vote?
She's literally confidently lying about Kenya. And this is the problem. This is the same problem that Nas and Damian Mali were talking about. Mainstream media always putting the worst about Africa in display, trying to insinuate that Africa is a continent full of uncivilized, uncouth, and barbaric people. And they let such news go around in mainstream media with zero objection, and yet it is false.